Jonesy, we're on, my friend. How are we?
How are we doing, mate? I'm doing good. How are
Yeah,
you?
yeah, I'm all good, my friend. Right, guys, welcome to another episode of Football News UK. So, I am Saul Millington. That is Sean Jones, and we are here. We are here today to give you a preview on the Dutch league coming up, guys. Guys, just want to start off by saying thanks so much for all the subscribers, all the likes on the videos so far. We really, really do appreciate it. And today, this is going to wrap up our sort of European coverage that we've been doing, so far in this pre-season, and then you can all look forward to next week when we get started on the Premier League. And obviously, the season's just weeks away now, guys, so we'll be getting into the full flow of things. But
we just can't wait till it starts, can we, Saul?
No.
And I'd just like to say, well, mate, before we start, again, thank you again for all the support that we've got. I mean, the subscribers that we're getting, I can't believe how many we've got so far, and we've only just started.
Yeah,
I mean, I really do appreciate it, mate, and we hope we get some more, and we hope you like the content.
Yeah, definitely. So, Jonesy, right, so Dutch football then, let's kick off. So, obviously last season, it was an interesting season, wasn't it? Kind of many surprises, really. And I think there's only really one place to start off with, and that's with the mighty Ajax. So, obviously, third in the league, finished on 69 points, and we're way off PSV and Feyenoord. What do you think went wrong, mate? Obviously, Johnny Heinsinger was in charge last season, and I think it's fair to say that it didn't work out would probably be the understatement of the century. Hence why they've appointed a new manager. What did you think of him last season, mate?
Disappointing.
Yeah.
Johnny Heinsinger there. I think he obviously he didn't quite make it out, did he? Obviously, he was a former player there at Ajax, so obviously he knows the club, doesn't he? Well,
yeah.
But again, for a big team in Holland, mate, they should be doing a lot better. Again, like you say, Feyenoord finished on 82 points, and like Ajax finished on 69. So that they're quite a way off there. So I think the sacking was coming, really, wasn't it, at the end of the season?
Yeah, definitely.
But they've brought in a new manager now, haven't they?
Yeah.
I can't pronounce his name, mate, but I don't know if you know it already, but it's Maurice Stein, is it? Stein?
Yeah, from Sparta Rotterdam, mate. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, with the new appointment, Jonesy, like, I think they've made a really, really good appointment, and Ajax have tended to go down this route in the past, where they've sort of appointed a manager that has done a good job at a lesser club in the Eredivisie. Sparta Rotterdam obviously came sixth last year, had an amazing season, and obviously that's been recognised by the hierarchy at Ajax. I think it's a really shrewd appointment, to be quite honest with you, mate. And I think they can be going into the new season with a bit of optimism, to be honest with you. I mean, I think it's fair to say with Ajax, Sean, that it's always going to be 5 steps forward and sort of like 6 steps back, if that makes sense. If we go back to the team that nearly reached the Champions League final under Erik ten Hag, obviously when they missed out against Spurs in that semi-final, that team there, I mean, they played some brilliant football, but you've got to bear in mind, mate, they had the likes of Neres, they had the likes of De Ligt, they had the likes of De Jong, and they've all gone now. And then Ajax, they always seem to go through that similar process where they've got to rebuild again. And I think that can make them come unstuck sometimes. And I think a club like that, I mean, you've got to bear in mind, mate, Ajax have won the European Cup a lot of times, mate. And it's just kind of like, it's a shame that a club like that has to always be like a yo-yo sort of thing. They can't ever make their proper stamp on European football. I mean, I think it's fairly obvious to say that they're always going to be there or thereabouts in the Eredivisie. Well, not last season, but most seasons they're always going to be like that. But again, this summer, mates, epitomised it, hasn't it? You know, Timber going to Arsenal. You know, that's another player that's left.
I mean,
So
I'm obviously happy with that, mate. Obviously being an Arsenal fan, but
yeah,
Ajax fans, obviously they're a selling club, aren't they?
yeah,
And for them, obviously they've got a great young team, haven't they?
yeah,
Great as well. So
yeah,
them to promote youngsters coming through their ranks obviously it's fantastic, isn't it?
yeah,
But again, coming back to it, you know, all these big clubs, you know, like Man City, Arsenal, you know, the big teams in Europe are gonna get their players because unfortunately the Dutch league, you know, is not the greatest, should I say? Should it? Is it really
no,
in
no.
Europe? So, what do you think it's gone down or?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think basically, I mean, it was an interesting question that you posed there, Sean. Actually, and it's a very good question. So I was going through the sort of the league rankings, and obviously, you know, each league gets ranked, doesn't it? Where it sits, obviously within UEFA and what they think. Although UEFA don't know a great deal about everything, to be honest, but that's a completely different story. But the Dutch league now, mate, is out of the top 5 in Europe, and I think like it suffers a lot from what most European clubs are suffering from, where you know the TV money isn't there, the exposure isn't there, you know, for these teams to be getting those sort of that sort of money coming through, and it you know it's going to fall by the wayside, mate. You know, it doesn't also help as well because you've got the power of the Premier League. You've got the emergence now of Serie A. I'm very, very confident that La Liga will get back to what it used to be as well, Sean, once things settle down at Barcelona and teams become more competitive again. So the Dutch league is always going to fall by the wayside. But with Ajax, the real positive thing with Ajax, Jonesy, as well, is that they've always got that infrastructure in place, haven't they? Where, you know, you've got that academy. Now, that academy you've got to look at, and the amount of players that it's brought through. I mean, being a general football fan like we are, you know, you think of that Ajax team in the mid-90s when they won the European Cup with the De Boer brothers, Seedorf, Van der Sar, Bergkamp, Kluivert. You look at all these players and you just think, my God, what a team that was. And then even like in the early 2000s, mate, you had the likes of Ibrahimovic, you had the likes of Van der Vaart, Schneider, all these sort of players. So Ajax have had great teams since, especially in our time, Sean.
That's what I
You
mean.
know, yeah,
You know, the players there that you just mentioned, big players. Obviously, they've gone on to bigger teams as well.
yeah.
Won trophies, but again, it comes back. They just replace them with their, you know, with their
Yeah.
academy that they've got.
It's like a conveyor belt, isn't it? It's just like a conveyor belt, Jonesy, isn't it? It's like a manufacturing line, isn't it? You know, they've got that set way of playing, haven't they? That brilliant 4-3 formation, 4-3-3 formation, which they execute absolutely amazingly. And what I love about Ajax as well, mate, is that they never ever change the style of play because the fans won't accept it as well. You know, you often hear that word in football nowadays, Sean, as well, about identity, don't you? Has this team got an identity? Have they got a project going on? You know, what are they trying to achieve? Well, Ajax's identity and project is basically the same every season. We're going to play 4-3-3. We're going to try play through the lines. We've got the two wingers at the top of the pitch who are going to get involved. And yeah, you know, they're a club who I've got big admiration for, mate. I mean,
I think I saw an interview. So obviously Timber's gone, hasn't he? He's gone to Arsenal now, hasn't he? So
yeah.
And I saw a Timber interview, and he obviously said to me, he said that Ajax and Arsenal are so similar the way they play, you know, that attractive football. Obviously, that's why he's joined Arsenal, because obviously it's a step up, isn't it, from Ajax? No, it is. But I think Timber there is going to be a really good signing for Arsenal because I've I've seen him last season, mate, and Man United obviously were in for him last summer.
Yeah,
Ten Hag wanted him at United, but obviously that didn't work out. He stayed another season at Ajax, and he's gone to Arsenal now. So, and I think it would be very interesting, Saul, to watch Ajax this season under the new
yeah,
manager. Now, I'll be honest, I don't really know much about the new manager,
yeah,
but it'll be interesting to see if he sticks to the right way Ajax play. I mean, obviously you've got to do that with the fans and stuff and the fan base
yeah,
there, the way
yeah,
you.
definitely.
But it's a big task, mate. It's a big task for him because obviously Feyenoord have won it last season, their biggest rivals. So the pressure's going to be on him, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean that would have hurt Ajax fans last season, Sean. I mean, the
Yeah,
rivalry between Feyenoord and Ajax I think it's one of the most underrated rivalries in European football. It's a game that, Sean, we're obviously going to be looking to go to, obviously with the channel and stuff, and that would have hurt Ajax fans. That would, especially with the success that they experienced under Ten Hag, where you know. They've been basically sort of doing well in Europe, but also dominating domestically as well. And I think there's a big job on at Ajax. But like the point I alluded to there, mate, is that the new manager who goes in at Ajax all the time has basically got things set in stone for him. So he goes in there. It's not like the Ajax manager can go in there, Sean, and go, right, we're going to play 3-5-2. We're going to sit deep. We're going to let teams come on to us because let me paint this picture for you, Sean, right? Can you imagine, right, the new Ajax manager at home to, I don't know, Go Ahead Eagles, right?
yeah.
And they go 1-0 up and that they sit back. That will never ever happen at Ajax, will it? It will never ever happen. And you've got. Go on, sorry, mate.
I was just going to say the fans would not accept that at all, mate.
No, they wouldn't.
Up and they're going to sit back at home against Go Ahead Eagles. It's not going to happen. I mean, Ajax obviously have done. I've just said they play like that all the time, don't they? Attacking football. They're not gonna sit back, especially in against teams like that, are they? So
No.
yeah, that's their philosophy, isn't it? Attacking football, attractive football, and it's
Yeah.
always going to be like.
Yeah, and the thing is, Sean, in my time, obviously I absolutely, we both absolutely adore football, and with all the sort of teams and the clubs that you've kind of kept an eye out on down the years, there's two teams, two clubs that epitomise having an identity that's never ever going to change, and that's Barcelona and Ajax. Right, those two teams have got it set in stone with how they want to play, and obviously that comes from one man who's got a great association with both clubs, and that's Johan Cruyff. Johan Cruyff obviously invented all this, the tiki-taka at Barcelona. He implemented that in the early 90s when he had that amazing team, and obviously when he had involvement with Ajax. Obviously, God bless him, he always had involvement with Ajax when he was alive. But yeah, those two clubs, and obviously Ajax, the one we're talking about now, are clubs that have got to play a certain way. You can't ever envisage Ajax playing in any other way. And it's great to see, and hopefully with the new appointment for the fans, they'll go on to some success this season. Obviously, they've got Europe, they've got the Dutch Cup, and obviously they've got the Eredivisie, which will be important for them to win. So, I think it's important that Ajax, really, if they can't win the league, they at least don't fall as far behind as what they did last season, because otherwise the new manager's just not going to last 5 minutes, Sean.
Well, that's it. And like you say, they finished third last season, didn't they?
Yeah.
And it's not good enough, mate, for a team like that, the biggest team in Holland, aren't they?
Yeah.
But and like you say, Feyenoord as well, winning it's not gonna go down well at all with the Ajax fans.
No.
So it's a big summer as well for Ajax, because obviously we just talk about Timber losing Timber there as well.
Yeah,
Tadic has left now as well.
yeah,
He's actually left because
yeah,
he doesn't feel that they're doing anything in the summer. Like the quality that they're bringing in, he doesn't feel it's good enough. So he's packed his bags, mate, and he's gone.
yeah,
He's gone to Fenerbahce.
yeah.
So
And I think it's a good point that you make there, really, as well, because you look at Tadic as well. I mean, he played such an important part in that Champions League run. I mean, you've got to think this was a player that was at Southampton and was indifferent. He
yeah,
didn't do anything. He didn't do anything at Southampton, Jonesy, did he really? He went to Ajax under Ten Hag. Ten Hag got him going, and I think he was in the form of his life in that Champions League run. So, yeah, I think it's just, I think basically it's going to be interesting to see what route he goes down, Jonesy, isn't it, really? Is he going to go down the route, the new manager, where he recruits, you know, good young Dutch players from it within the Eredivisie, or is it going to, appoint sort of like is he going to sign players that are a bit further afield? But the problem is that the money isn't there because they don't get enough money from the league that they're playing in. It's just as simple as that.
And I think they always get those Saul. They always buy hidden gems, don't they? So
Always, mate. Always.
a very good scouting network, haven't they? I mean,
Absolutely. Yeah.
they that people and teams have never really heard of, and they do turn them into superstars. But then the sad thing about it, mate, is they then sell them to these big clubs, don't they?
Yeah, well, the perfect example of that. I mean, there's two big examples of that, isn't there? You've got I don't know whether obviously you remember him, Sean, Klashan Huntelaar. That's a big example. Huntelaar was signed from Heerenveen, came to Ajax, broke all the records, goal scoring records, was then sold to Real Madrid when I think it was Wandy Ramos was in charge, and then basically Luis Suarez was at Groningen at the start of his career, bought by Ajax, moulded him, shaped him into the player he was, and then he was sold to Liverpool. So I think they're always going to have that problem, but I think the only thing for teams like Ajax, Sean, and we're going to go on to other teams, other Dutch teams, obviously in a minute. Guys, please let us know what you think about what we're saying in the comments section. Where until the Dutch teams can prove that they can sustain like consistency in the European competitions, whether that be the Conference League, whether that be Europa League or Champions League, then doing well in the Eredivisie, Sean, I can't see players wanting that. I don't know what you think, mate.
The thing is, I don't think the Dutch league is not. It's not very attractive, is it?
No.
I mean, they'll be attracted to the big teams like Ajax, PSV Eindhoven, Feyenoord, but still, I don't think overall they're going to be attracted to the Dutch league, unfortunately. Which is obviously why players like Timber's gone, and other players like that in the Ajax side, and they've moved on to the bigger things. But yeah, for me, it's worrying times really for the Dutch Football League. I don't know what you think about that. Again, like PSV as well. I mean, another big club, mate. They've won multiple trophies, haven't they? They've won 24 Eredivisie titles, 11 Dutch Cups, and they've won 13 Johan Cruyff Shields as well. They've got a lot of history there. But again, though, mate, I worry about PSV because they've just saw that Xavi Simons. He's gone back to PSG today. And he was the top goal scorer last season in the league.
Yeah, I think Jonesy, sorry to put in there, mate, but you've just made a brilliant point, and you've kind of, as we're rolling into talking about PSV now, you've just kind of epitomised what we spoke about in the first 20 minutes of this episode, where, like, Xavi Simons, that is a classic example, mate. So playing in the Eredivisie, getting his experience, so on and so forth, and then boom. And I know PSG had an agreement in place with him, but that kind of proves it, mate, didn't it? Because if PSV were going to go and challenge in the Eredivisie or going to go and do well in Europe, he wouldn't have left, would he? So I think it's kind of that is a really good point you've just made, mate, where, yeah, it kind of one of those, isn't it, where, you know, he's not going to stay. You know, he's going to end up going to a bigger club. You know, it's one of them, isn't it?
Well, they had only had a 6 million clause in his contract, so obviously PSG have done that. Now I've read today that it all depends on Mbappe or Neymar leaving. So if obviously one of them leaves, then they're going to keep him.
Yeah.
Or what else was there? He was going to get loaned out to Leipzig, RB Leipzig in Germany. So
yeah,
you know, it'll be interesting to see if he does stay at PSG or he does get loaned out. Going back to his PSV career, mate, like I say, it speaks for itself. 19 goals last season. He was the top goal scorer in the league. Well, joint top goal scorer in the league.
Yeah.
For an attacking midfielder, mate, and he's only 19, isn't he? 20.
Yeah.
19. I mean, he's a good player, mate. He's a good player.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, he's obviously thrived in the Eredivisie, Sean, hasn't he? I mean, PSG have recognised that he needs to get out there and get more experience and everything like that. But it's got to the point now where it's like, well, he obviously feels that he can go back to PSG, and obviously with Enrique coming in at PSG, that he could make I tell you what, though, Sean, with that Xavi Simons, mate, I think he could be an absolute superstar. I mean, I think Louis van Gaal had amazing faith in him, obviously with being the Dutch national coach, and I think, like, you know, that's a player as general football fans like me and you, Jonesy, where we can be excited about what he's going to go on and achieve in the future. What do you think, mate?
Well, that's it. I think if he stays at PSG, obviously under Enrique, he's gonna improve in big style, mate. Because we all know Luis Enrique's what he's like with young players, don't we? And what a manager and coach he is. And I think if he does stay at PSG, mate, it'd be even better.
Yeah, definitely.
Looking. It all depends on all the Mbappe situation and Neymar situation, really. But going back to PSV, mate, obviously they've let Xavi Simons is gone now.
Yeah.
I'll talk about two players that they've brought in.
Go on, mate.
So they've brought in Ricardo Pepe, the American striker. He was on loan at Groningen last season, and he had a real season there. So he looks a good player, good young player, and I've also brought in Noah Lang as well from Club Bruges. So I think they're two interesting signings, mate. I think that will improve PSV Eindhoven, obviously with lots of Simons. But yeah, you know, with those two signings and maybe some more, who knows if they might, you know, push on to win the league.
Yeah, definitely, Sean. I think, you know, it's like what you've got. I mean, there's been a lot of sort of. I mean, Van Nistelrooy left, didn't he, because he didn't feel he was getting enough support from the board. But again, that goes back to financial restrictions across the board with all the big teams anyway in Holland anyway. You know, you've got like the likes of PSV and stuff like that. And I think, I don't know what you think, Sean, but with like the likes of PSV and Ajax, who we've touched on, and obviously we're going to move on to Feyenoord next, where don't you think that would be a frustration, Jonesy, where you've built this good team, you know it can compete in the Eredivisie, but the likes of the big three,
Yeah.
you know that they could do something in Europe, and they just haven't got that financial backing. Do you believe that Van Nistelrooy made the right choice in leaving, mate?
I think so. Because
Yeah,
again, it's a tough one, isn't it? Ajax and PSV and Feyenoord have obviously got more money than the rest of the league, haven't they?
yeah,
But again, it's just not enough to compete with the big boys, is it?
no,
Around leagues, and I think obviously Van Nistelrooy saw that, and he's obviously left. But it's a shame, really, if Saul, in my opinion, it really is, because I personally would like the Dutch league to go back to the way it was. It was more competitive, wasn't it? I thought back
yeah,
in,
yeah, it was, mate. Yeah,
like, and again, looking at the table again, I think, I remember that FC20 actually won it, didn't they, under Steve McLaren?
yeah. When just to throw a bit of banter in this episode, Sean, when he felt the need to speak in a Dutch accent, which went horribly wrong. But we'll leave you today, Steve. Don't worry, we'll let you off today.
But the Wally with the brolly succeeded though in Holland, didn't it?
But the thing is, though, Sean, what I love about Dutch football is, and the league, it does give players and young coaches a platform. Now, it's like McLaren, right? Let's take McLaren for example, right, where he's come back off the absolute disaster that was not getting England through a group in 2006, in 2008, which consisted of teams like Estonia, Andorra, and Macedonia. And then you've got, he goes to FC20. He gets Eric Ten Hagen as his assistant manager, and he gets a complete sort of like different outlook on the way football's played. I mean, I don't know whether you've ever watched an interview with McLaren, Sean. There's this really interesting interview with him, and basically the Dutch press are obsessed with the way you play, not necessarily the result. And there's quite a lot to be said for that, mate. So McLaren used an example of when he first went there, and I think they drew the first game 0-0 when he won the league at 20, and he'd had like something like 65 to 70 possession, 65% to 70% possession of the ball, and like the Dutch press weren't bothered that they drew 0-0. They were just bothered about ball retention, the way the game's trying to be played, and I think like that's what I love about Dutch football, Sean. I absolutely love it. It's just so like the principles are there of how to play football properly, and I think that's a great foundation for the Eredivisie, where like that will always be their sort of footprint of the way football should be played. But the league just needs a bit more exposure, mate. But obviously, I mean, with the likes of ourselves, Jonesy, who love European football in general, there just needs to be a bit more investment and everything like that. Would you agree, mate?
Yeah, I agree, mate. Definitely. Obviously, it will make it more competitive, won't it?
Yeah.
And I just think it will boost it as well. Like, it will make
Yeah.
more people want to watch the Eredivisie as well. And I
Yeah.
know we watch Dutch football, and obviously we watch Dutch football as well. And yeah, obviously we've enjoyed it, haven't we? But I
Yeah.
feel it needs to improve more. And the likes of the managers that have come in, Arnie Slot. We're going to talk about Feyenoord now, aren't we? Arnie Slot is the
Yeah.
manager of Feyenoord.
Yeah.
Obviously done a fantastic job there, winning the league
Yeah.
last season. Got him into the final, didn't he, as well?
Yeah.
Not last season, was it the season before when they
Season
played?
before, mate. Yeah. Yeah. We did the Conference League final, mate. Yeah.
Obviously, they'd lost that, but at least he got him to that final, didn't he?
Yeah.
Again, 16 Dutch titles,
Yeah,
13 Dutch Cups, four Johan Cruyff Shields, 2 UEFA Cups,
yeah.
one European Cup as well, and a big club. Um, so, and that just goes to show, mate, how big these teams are in Holland, doesn't it?
It does, mate. And I must admit, there's something really that you've got to have big respect for teams like Feyenoord, mate, and everything like that. I mean, you've got to think about it, Jonesy. They've had some very famous players down the years, Feyenoord. The rivalry between them and Ajax is unbelievable. The job he's done there, mate, has been nothing short of brilliant. You've got to think, mate, where Ajax have dominated for so long, where they've had basically three championships on the run under Ten Hag. PSV and Feyenoord were really going nowhere. And, to be fair, someone's gone in there at Feyenoord. Obviously, Slot's gone in there and he's completely woken up a sleeping giant. Feyenoord have been a sleeping giant for years, Jonesy. They've never been able to sustain any consistency. But what they're doing now, they're winning championships again. They're competing on the European front, and I think that's brilliant for Dutch football as well. And I think it sort of integrates in what we were trying to say earlier, where Dutch teams have got to be seen to be doing well on the European stage, and that's not just the big three, so to speak. With the likes of Alkmaar, 20 getting into obviously these into these European places, mate. I think it can only be good for Dutch football. But no, big shout out to the to Slot at Feyenoord, mate. He's done an amazing job, hasn't he?
They've come out of nowhere, really, haven't they, Saul? And again, it
Yeah.
comes to the individual manager who takes Feyenoord over, because it's the way they're set up, isn't it? Like you say, great manager there. And I think he'll do even better this season, mate.
Yeah.
And now here's a question for you, Saul.
Go on.
Who do you think is going to win the title this season in Holland?
I'm going to go for Feyenoord again, mate. I think they've got momentum. And there seems to be. I think obviously with what's going on at PSV, there seems to be a bit of, with at boardroom level. Obviously, Van Nistelrooy's left. You've got obviously the upheaval. Obviously, Ajax with the new manager coming in, who they're going to be recruiting. Tadic has just left. Obviously, Timber's gone now to Arsenal. So it's going to be. It's going to be a massive. I think PSV and Ajax, mate, have got a big job on their hands. But what you've got at Feyenoord is stability, haven't you?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, got stability there.
Yeah,
and they're on a winning form, aren't they?
Yeah.
I feel like they're on the rise as well now.
Yeah.
Obviously, 82 points last season. Won it convincingly, really, didn't they? With PSV.
Yeah, they did. They ran away with it, Jonesy, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. And the pressure, mate, is going to be all on PSV and Ajax. There's going to be big pressure on the new Ajax manager, and on PSV as well, because if you imagine, mate, if Feyenoord do win it again this season, it's not going to go down well with all of the young fans, especially Ajax fans, is it? So I agree with you, mate. I think Feyenoord for me will win as well.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to go PSV again second, mate. I think Ajax, because obviously the players, I think PSV will probably get second.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree. I totally agree. And I think that's a pretty accurate sort of like preview of what we've done of the Dutch league there, Sean. Sean, I just want to wrap up the episode, mate, as well. And I think it would be nice of us to do this by, basically the Dutch national team. Okay, so obviously the Dutch national team, that famous orange kit, Sean, that we all love,
We had the kit. We bought the kit quite a while ago when the famous Dutch shirt. I mean, great quality players that they had.
Yeah.
I think I had who did I think I had Bergkamp on the back of my shirt, mate.
Yeah. I can't remember who I had in the back. I think I had Huntelaar on the back of my Dutch shirt, mate, when he was playing.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say, I think. What do you think the current state of the national team is, Sean? Do you think the Dutch have got a chance of moving forward now in the major competitions again?
I don't know, mate. It's a good question to have, isn't it? Really. I mean, they're not. Obviously, they're not as good as they used to be, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Obviously, the likes of the players we just mentioned there, like there's like going back a few years now with Berg, what have you. But for me, I don't know. I personally don't think they're that. It's hard to say, isn't it? So, like, what's your opinion? Like,
yeah, I don't really think. I don't think they're that great at the moment. The Dutch national team, mate. I think. I think they're way off, mate. To be brutally honest with you, I think you look at the players that they've got. They've got the likes of Van Dijk, obviously. I mean, it really spoke volumes, mate. Where they were, they're playing the big lad from Manchester United, Weghorst.
yeah.
And I just looked at that, mate, in the World Cup, mate, and I was just like, God, they've fallen, they've really, really fallen the Dutch.
Of the Dutch strikers that they used to have, from obviously Van Persie,
Yeah.
Kluivert, and players like that, and then you're playing like this guy. He plays for Burnley, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's just I just think they're way off, but it'll be interesting to see where the Dutch team go in the future, Sean, won't it? And obviously, we'll be keeping a close eye out on that in the future. But guys, that brings a conclusion to our European roundup. So obviously we've previewed all the European leagues in this sort of series of episodes that we've done. We're now going to move on to the Premier League on the next episode, which I'm sure you'll be all buzzing about. We're all looking forward to the new season coming up. Guys, we can't thank you enough for all your all the subscriptions and all the likes that you've been giving us. We really, really do appreciate it. This video will be uploaded tonight, so please give it a like, and any new subscribers would be much, much appreciated. We've got a big couple of months coming up on the channel where we're going to be doing a Scottish football preview as we go to Glasgow on the 7th and 8th to preview, and our tours of Celtic Park and Ibrox, and obviously we're going to be going to.
We're looking forward to going to Glasgow, aren't we? I mean, it's.
Yeah.
I've actually never been to Glasgow before, and I've never been to Celtic Park or Ibrox, so it's going to be a good experience for us all, isn't it? And we're going to take you guys with us as well. And we're going to, like Saul said, we're going to do our SPL preview there, aren't we, as well? And
yeah,
hopefully we're going to speak to some fans as well, if they're outside the stadium as well, just to get their thoughts on
the upcoming season. Yeah.
Yeah. And again,
definitely.
I like to, again, just to repeat what Saul said, we really appreciate these likes and subscribes. And we, again, I know we keep on repeating ourselves, don't we? But we really do appreciate it. And the more the merrier. We really want this channel to kick off again. And we're going to, like we say, we're going to go over to all different grounds this season, at home and abroad as well. So, it's exciting times, isn't it, Saul?
Yeah, definitely. And it's great to see people getting on board. So, guys, that pretty much concludes it for today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in, and look forward to, I'll be doing a video preview of when the next episode is going to be coming up, which won't be too long, guys. But anything else from you, Jonesy?
No, that's it. Just have a good day, guys. Have a good weekend, and we'll catch you.
Cheers, guys, for tuning in. See you later, guys.